Many years after graduation, the classmate I had a crush on in high school became a big star. We met again at a class reunion, and he seemed indifferent. "May I ask who you are? Everyone thinks Cole Pay has already forgotten me," until the news of my unexpected death came back. My best friend accidentally discovered the love letters that Cole Pay had written to me in the process of sorting through my belongings. "Jiang, having a crush is too painful. I don't want to like you anymore." Looking further down, there was a line of small text. "Forget it, I was just kidding you." That night, the news of Cole Pay's suicide for love trended online. When I opened my eyes again, I was back at the class reunion that day. I looked at the indifferent Cole Pay in front of me and tentatively took out my phone to send him a message. The next second, his special ringtone rang. "Cole Pay, I died on a snowy day. While out searching for inspiration, I accidentally got lost. Was trapped on the mountain, encountered snow, and died of hypothermia. Died in a very undignified manner." My best friend Ju Yuan rushed over after receiving the news, crying so hard that she could barely catch her breath while claiming the body. "Jiang, how could you bear to just leave me like this? Even if Cole Pay doesn't remember you, you still have me." My soul floated in midair, feeling so embarrassed after hearing this that I was digging my toes into the ground. If it weren't already completely cold, I would rush over to cover her mouth. This girl, even the uncle said it was an accidental death. How did it turn into me being heartbroken and unable to cope in her words? Can't I leave a bit of innocence in this world? But clearly, Ju Yuan did not think so. She insisted for some reason that my death was related to Cole Pay, and pulled out her phone to make a call. It rang for a long time on Cole Pay's side before it was answered. "Hello." A hoarse male voice came from the other end of the line, as if he had just been woken up from a deep sleep. "Ju Yuan, what do you want? I just finished filming all night." "Cole Pay," Ju Yuan interrupted him, her tone sorrowful. "Jiang is dead." After she finished speaking, I heard a long silence on the other end of the phone. Even though I am already a ghost, I still can't help but feel a glimmer of hope in my heart. What would Cole Pay's reaction be if he knew I was dead? Will he be sad, or will he just think that it's nothing more than the death of an unimportant person? After all, at the class reunion a few days ago, his attitude towards me was so cold, facing the jeers of those around him. He simply asked coldly, "May I ask who you are?" As soon as the words left my mouth, the air around seemed to freeze. Meeting his indifferent gaze, I felt that the courage I had painstakingly built up before leaving home had turned into nothingness. In the end, I could only open my mouth and squeeze out a sentence. "No, it's nothing." Then I lowered my eyes and didn't dare to look up again. Actually, it's not that hard to understand. He is now a top celebrity, and it has been 6 years since we graduated. It's a good thing that he doesn't remember me, otherwise, I always feel sorry for him. "Cole Pay, didn't you hear me talking?" There was no response from the other end of the phone, and Ju Yuan cried out to question him. I said, "Jiang is dead." "She is dead." Bang! A loud sound of a heavy object falling suddenly came from the other side. Cole Pay seemed to be gritting his teeth, his tone trembling. "I don't believe it." The next second, the call was hung up. Ju Yuan looked at the hung-up phone, both crying and angry, and after taking a photo of my death report to send to him, she blocked him. I wanted to comfort her, but my outstretched hand passed right through her body. In the end, I could only gently hold her through the air. "Don't cry, silly girl." On the 5th day after my death, Ju Yuan returned to City N with my ashes. I don't have many relatives in the country. My only brother was on a business trip abroad when he heard the news and is currently on a flight back. When Ju Yuan returned to my house holding the ashes, the ragdoll cat I had raised had already been hungry for 2 days. I left it 3 days worth of cat food when I went out, thinking I would be back soon, but unexpectedly, I never returned. In the past, Ju Yuan often came to my house to play, and when the door opened to reveal her, the kitten immediately pounced over to cuddle and beg for food. Perhaps it was the scene that stirred her emotions. Ju Yuan almost cried again. The cat food was poured out, and the little kitty immediately rushed over to eat. Ju Yuan walked into the study and began to sort through my belongings. I am a full-time author, and I spend more time in the study than in the bedroom. The desk still retains the appearance it had when I left, and the photo frame in front of the computer holds a group photo of my friends from high school. In the photo, Ju Yuan affectionately linked arms with me, standing in the middle, while Cole Pei stood on the far right. There were people in between us. I smiled at the camera, while Cole Pei's peripheral vision was directed at me. Ju Yuan got angry when she saw Cole Pei, turned around to tidy up other things. And just as she was about to grab the photo frame, a little cat that had just finished eating came over. Seeing Ju Yuan reach for the photo frame, the little cat dashed forward and extended its claws. Crash! The photo frame fell to the ground, and the glass shattered everywhere. Ju Yuan was startled. After picking up the kitten, she noticed that there seemed to be something in the layer of the broken photo frame on the ground. Meow! The kitten in her arms realized it had caused trouble and called out in a pleasing manner. Ju Yuan bent down and pulled out the letter from the shattered layer of the photo album. Upon opening it, I found that it was actually a love letter. Now not only Ju Yuan, but even I was puzzled. The paper inside the envelope had already yellowed, but the handwriting was still sharp. Every word and sentence was filled with the other person's subtle yet grand unrequited love. L. Jiang. Having a crush is too painful. I don't want to like you anymore. If you look further down, there is a line of small text. Forget it, I was just kidding. When my gaze fell to the lower right corner, both Ju Yuan and I were stunned. The signature is Cole Pei, the current top star in the entertainment industry. He is also my high school deskmate whom I have secretly had a crush on for many years. I suddenly remembered that this photo frame was indeed given to me by Cole Pei in our senior year. Over the years, I have moved many times, but this picture frame has always followed me, placed beside my computer for many years. It was just that at that time, I never thought that there was actually this secret hidden in the frame's compartment. Recalling that last phone call, Cole Pei gritted his teeth and said with a trembling voice, "I don't believe it." My heart felt a painful ache. So ghosts can feel sad too. I watched as Ju Yuan immediately took out her phone and removed Cole Pei from her blacklist. However, before the call could be made, a trending Weibo notification popped up at the top of the phone. Cole Pei committed suicide. In the next moment, Ju Yuan almost trembled as she clicked on that trending topic. Then she saw a video posted by a marketing account with millions of followers just over 10 minutes ago. In the footage, an ambulance was parked in front of a high-end villa, surrounded by security guards and staff. Finally, the camera shook, and everyone saw the hand that fell from the stretcher of the ambulance. With long bones and skin that was excessively pale, dark red liquid dripped down my fingertips, splattering on the ground, blooming into flowers. Cole Pei committed suicide by cutting his wrists at home tonight. The content of the suicide note is suspected to be a love suicide. I looked at the strikingly prominent words "love suicide" in the title, and for a moment, my brain seemed to lose its ability to think. No, it shouldn't be like this. It shouldn't be like this. How could he die? How could he possibly die? In an instant, countless memories flashed through my mind, the scenes of the past replaying like a revolving lantern. It finally froze on that snowy winter day. 17-year-old Cole Pei stood at the steps of the teaching building, reaching out his hand to me. Then it settled. L. Jiang. He looked at me with his eyes curved. The way he slightly curled his lips was so gentle it was almost unbelievable. In the future, if I become a big star, you will come to be my manager. As soon as the words fell, a gust of wind blew by, and pure white snowflakes covered the entire world. Everything feels like a big dream. L. Jiang, I suddenly came to my senses. What are you daydreaming about? Cole Pei is here. I looked at Ju Yuan, who had a concerned expression, and felt my eyes instantly sting. Very good. I unexpectedly returned to the day of the class reunion. The next second, I raised my eyes and happened to meet Cole Pei's gaze. In that moment of eye contact, I almost immediately guessed what he was going to say next. May I ask who you are? Why are you crying? The sounds in my memory overlap with the sounds by my ear. I looked at him in confusion. What? Unlike in the previous life, Cole Pei did not ask me who I was. He just frowned slightly and coldly repeated it. Why are you crying? As he spoke, he seemed to instinctively want to reach out. But upon realizing the situation around him, he abruptly stopped his movement. Then I turned my face away, my brows furrowing even tighter. I raised my hand to touch my face, only to realize that tears had fallen down without me noticing. L. Jiang, Ju Yuan beside me finally noticed something was off. What's wrong? Are you feeling unwell? No, I'm fine. I took a deep breath, hastily wiped away the tears on my face, and pretended to rub my eyes a few times. It was probably an eyelash that accidentally fell into my eye. This is so embarrassing. Why did I cry in front of him? Cole Pay must find this very puzzling. I cautiously raised my eyes to glance at him. He is talking to Ju Yuan. Ju Yuan is currently an editor at a fashion magazine and is the only person present who has worked with Cole Pay. So in my past life, after I died, she was able to contact Cole Pay. The class reunion was organized a month in advance, and knowing that Cole Pay was coming, many people showed up today. Even after the dishes started being served, many eyes were still on Cole Pay. Some people seem to be born as the main character. They just need to sit there to be the focus of the entire event. There was a Ju Yuan sitting in between, and I buried my head and quietly ate my meal. It's already great that I can see him again. In this life, as long as I don't die, he won't die either. After a few rounds of drinks, the squad leader came over with a glass and insisted on toasting Cole Pay. Big star, I thought you wouldn't come this time, but you really showed up. Cole Pay smiled and graciously raised his glass. Taking a small sip, the class monitor's gaze fell on Ju Yuan sitting next to him and me, and he seemed to frown slightly. You are, L. Jiang. As soon as he finished speaking, the other old classmates who were toasting each other also looked over. It's really you. Seeing me nod, the class monitor was a bit excited. Back in our senior year, you suddenly transferred schools, and we lost contact. I thought you wouldn't come to the class reunion. Speaking of which, you were desk mates with our big star back then. As soon as those words were spoken, I clearly felt Cole Pay's gaze follow his words and land on me. Really, I heard Cole Pay's tone was indifferent, as if he didn't care that I was there. I forgot a long time ago. The dishes in the bowl are a bit cold. I chewed and swallowed, my tongue feeling slightly astringent. That winter in my senior year of high school, I suddenly transferred schools due to family reasons. We had been dreaming about the future together the day before, and the next day I suddenly lost all contact. In the following years, the only person I still had contact with was Ju Yuan. She came from a good family and had heard some things about my family, but she never deliberately brought them up in front of me. In the summer of the second year, Cole Pay burst onto the scene in a talent show and won the championship of that season. That summer, his name spread throughout the streets and alleys, and that familiar face appeared on countless family television screens. Occasionally, his songs would play on the radio while passing by a shopping mall. It seemed that overnight, I went from being his deskmate sharing the same desk to being 1 in a million on his Weibo fan list. And I can finally say openly that the person I like is called Cole Pay. The days of studying away from home are very difficult. Several times, I have opened Cole Pay's chat window, but after seeing the chat history above, I fell silent for a long time. L. Jiang, where are you? L. Jiang, you are late. L. Jiang, what happened? L. Jiang, it's snowing. Remember to take an umbrella. Below that, there are a dozen missed calls and countless caring messages. The last message was sent at midnight, 9 hours later. L. Jiang, I'm not waiting for you anymore. That day happened to be New Year's Eve. We had agreed to meet, but in the end, I broke my promise. I typed and deleted the words in the dialog box. Deleted and typed again. In the end, the phone suddenly rang on the other end. I was startled, and after seeing the caller on the screen, I instinctively pressed to answer. The next second, I heard a familiar breathing sound coming from the other end. My throat felt sore and hoarse. I opened my mouth but didn't know what to say. L. Jiang, the person across from me was almost gritting their teeth. Speak, what does it mean to be constantly inputting? I took a deep breath and quietly said, are you okay? The breathing of the person across from me paused. I have imagined countless times what I would say when I reunite with Cole Pay. In the end, it was just a distant separation through the phone screen. Hearing his indifferent tone, thanks to you, I'm doing very well. After a long silence, I said in a dry tone, well, I wish you all the best in the future. May you become more and more successful and have a smooth path to stardom. Beep. The other side hung up the phone. I was left looking at the phone screen, both crying and laughing. Later, he indeed became as popular as I said, with a bright future ahead. The subtle yet grand unrequited love of my youth has thus come to an end. The meal was very lively. Along the way, Ju Yuan signaled me countless times with her eyes, but I pretended not to see and ignored it. I know that Cole Pay doesn't really not remember me. After all, with more than 40 people in the class, he can call out everyone's name, yet he is only cold towards me. It's hard to say something that isn't intentional. As the party was about to end, I got up to go to the bathroom. On my way back, I happened to run into Cole Pay, who was out for some fresh air on the terrace. Seeing me, he casually rolled up his sleeves, revealing his well-defined forearms, then skillfully shook a cigarette out of the pack, glanced at me, and asked with the cigarette in his mouth, "Do you mind?" I shook my head. The heating in the private room was very good, so I took off my coat as soon as I went in. After being out for a while, I sneezed because I was freezing. The next second, Cole Pay, who was about to light up, covered the lighter again. I looked at him in confusion. What's wrong? Not smoking again. But I have to say, the scene just now when Cole Pay casually bit the cigarette and glanced at me was full of the charm of a mature man. This is a Cole Pay I have never seen before. I withdrew my gaze, rubbed my arms, and was about to return to the private room when, El Jiang, the person behind me suddenly called out my name. I instinctively turned my head to look at him. Then I saw the man who had just been indifferent, now with anger in his eyes. He almost bit his teeth and squeezed out a sentence from his mouth. "Is it that if I don't come looking for you, you will never come looking for me?" I was a bit taken aback and said blankly, "But it was you who pretended not to know me first." "Shut up." He glared over. "Oh." I immediately lowered my eyes again. Seeing this, Cole Pay was directly amused to the point of anger. "El Jiang, do you even have a conscience?" That's what was said. I want to quietly refute this, but after thinking about it, I decided to let it go. "You are a big star, so whatever you say is right." Cole Pay, he irritably ruffled his hair and finally turned around and strode back to the private room. I jogged to catch up. When I went in, the dinner party had just ended. Ju Yuan was originally looking for me, and when she saw me coming back with Cole Pay, her eyes instantly became ambiguous. "Oh, you two went out to catch up. Did Cole Pay remember you?" I thought for a moment and nodded. "I guess holding a grudge counts." Cole Pay snorted coldly from the side. Before the event ended, the class monitor pulled everyone together to create a new group for future gatherings. After Cole Pay debuted, he changed his contact information. The class monitor asked Ju Yuan to add people to the group, but Ju Yuan was busy catching up with someone and casually called out to me, "El Jiang, can you add Cole Pay's alternate account?" "Oh." I took out my phone and flipped through the list. I had added both Cole Pay's main and secondary accounts, but I hadn't been in touch for many years, so I wasn't quite sure. So I tentatively opened the chat window for Cole Pay's secondary account, and before the Cole Pay next to me could react, I quickly sent a meme. The next second, I heard the sound of the person next to me's phone ringing. Cole Pay flusteredly tried to turn off the screen, but I still caught a glimpse of the words "special concern" flashing on the screen. Cole Pay, what should I do? Do I need to pretend I didn't see it? Before I could think of a way to help Cole Pay, Ju Yuan made her move again. Perfect timing. "Is your agent Cole Pay coming to pick you up? Can you give El Jiang a ride on the way?" Cole Pay immediately frowned, his tone a bit reluctant. "Why should I give her a ride? I had a drink too, right? Otherwise, it's so late. Should I really let her take a taxi home alone? That would be too pitiful." Cole Pay glanced at me. I just put on my coat, and before going out, I was only thinking about meeting Cole Pay tonight. Forgetting that it seems to be snowing in the evening, I honestly buttoned up the top button, but there was still a small section of my neck exposed. I was pondering whether to shrink my neck a bit since Cole Pay is still sulking and probably wouldn't care what I was wearing. The next second, Cole Pay casually grabbed the scarf that Ju Yuan had draped over the chair and quickly wrapped it around my neck. The movement was so swift that I didn't even have time to react before I was wrapped up, leaving only my eyes exposed. "All right." Cole Pay finally tied a knot and looked into my eyes. I blinked a couple of times. The scarf was wrapped too tightly. I exhaled forcefully, and my bangs were blown up. Cole Pay seemed to want to laugh but forcibly held it back. "Don't overthink it," he warned me with a stern face. "I'm worried there might be paparazzi lurking outside. If you get caught on camera, it would be a problem." I thought for a moment and tried to imitate the tone of a marketing account. Shocking. Cole Pay secretly meets a mysterious girl late at night, suspected romance exposed. "What are you looking at every day?" After saying that, he quickly turned and walked outside. "Keep up." When they arrived at the underground parking lot, Coldpay's agent. Brother Jew had been waiting for a long time. Seeing Coldpay striding towards the car, he lowered the car window to speak, only to see me sneaking up behind Coldpay, my face wrapped tightly in a scarf, running along stealthily. "Agent, what the hell is going on? Old classmate, I'm just giving you a ride," Coldpay said as he got into the car. I thought for a moment and opened the passenger door. On the way back, Brother Jew tried several times to see my true face through the tightly wrapped scarf, but he ultimately failed. He hesitated, wanting to say something but stopping short, wanting to say something but stopping short. In the end, he still asked, "Aren't you bored? The heating in the car is quite strong." I didn't dare to pick it. Afraid of being scolded, afraid of being filmed and posted online. I said honestly. Juji was amused. "You and Coldpay were high school classmates. Was he this bad-tempered in high school?" After that, Coldpay in the back seat made a dissatisfied TCH sound. I thought about it and said, "Not really. He was quite nice in high school. Anyway, he was quite nice to me." "So how did he change so much after graduating from high school?" Coldpay's sneer came from the back seat again. "I'm not talking anymore," feeling very guilty. Now even the agent can see that something is off. "Coldpay, what's going on with you? If you're not feeling well, just scratch it. I'm just chatting with an old classmate. Who are you showing your sulking to? Just drop the person off. You don't need to say so much." Coldpay's face turned cold again. The agent stopped talking and gave me a helpless look, until the car stopped at the entrance of the community where I lived. I thanked the agent and prepared to get out of the car. As soon as I opened the door, the cold air from outside rushed in, with a crystalline chill spreading at my fingertips. "Oh, it's snowing." Cough cough. Coldpay in the back seat suddenly coughed a few times and said, "Close the door." Brother Jew, unfazed, explained to me, "Sorry, he had a serious illness before, and he tends to be more fragile in winter." I was taken aback for a moment, then quietly reminded the back seat, "It's cold lately. If your throat is uncomfortable, you should smoke less." After I spoke, I saw the agent's face full of surprise. "What smoking? Coldpay doesn't smoke. How could a public figure dare to smoke? If he's caught, he would be scolded to death." Coldpay suddenly kicked the front seat, covering his mouth and coughing, his face turning bright red. "Shut up. I can still smoke you." Bang. The car door was closed. I stared blankly at the car driving away. After thinking for a moment, I took out my phone and sent a message to Ju Yuan. "El Jiang, how to comfort an angry boy." Ju Yuan responded very quickly. "Ju Yuan, did you make Coldpay angry?" "El Jiang, not really. It was his own fault for exposing himself and then getting angry out of shame." "Ju Yuan, what did he expose?" "He has a crush on me." I didn't dare to say this directly to Ju Yuan, so I had to change the subject. "El Jiang, I thought about it and decided not to go traveling. Not going out to travel for inspiration means I won't die unexpectedly." It took a long time for Ju Yuan to reply. "Ju Yuan, that's just right. I'll find you something to do." It wasn't until the next day that I found out what Ju Yuan meant by finding something to do. Early in the morning, she rushed to my house and told me to tidy up and get ready to take the cat out. Coldpay's film crew is short a cat actor. I happen to know the producer, and last night I saw him asking for help on social media. I immediately thought of your little cat and signed it up. Hey. Since Coldpay is still mad at you, it proves that he definitely still remembers you. You should show up in front of him more often, and after a while, he might just cool down. After saying that, she stepped on the gas and took me straight to the entrance of the film crew. "Alright, I have something to do later, so I'll come pick you up in the evening." I hadn't had the chance to refuse yet, and I was just thrown to the crew by her along with the cat. Meow. The little kitten nestled in my arms, showing off the clinginess of the ragdoll cat to the fullest. "What a cute little cat. The director must be very pleased." The staff praised. Hearing my child being praised, I smiled as well. As soon as I walked into the crew, the little ancestor in my arms flipped over and jumped out. I was startled and immediately chased after the cat with the staff. It was just the right time for the intermission. And several actors were sitting on the lounge chairs reading the script. After hearing the commotion, everyone looked over here, and upon seeing that the instigator was a little kitten, they all showed a motherly smile. "What a cute little cat. What color of sack does Mimi like? Come, 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 look here. Sister has something delicious." amidst the noise, the person on the innermost lounge chair was finally awakened. The man reached out to pick up the script covering his face. Frowning slightly, just about to speak, "Sorry, the little cat ran away. I ran all the way here," still panting, and finally cornered the suspect cat in front of a group of actors. Meow, the little guy thought I was playing with it, wagging its tail and jumping onto the lounge chair, but unexpectedly, it was directly caught by a long-boned hand gripping the nape of its neck. In the next moment, I caught Colpay's gaze and instinctively shouted, "Baby, you can't grab it." Thud, the script in Colpay's hand fell to the ground. He looked at me in shock, his ears almost turning red in an instant. What did you call me?" The atmosphere instantly became a bit ambiguous, seeing Colpay's face almost turn completely red. I hesitated for a second between embarrassing him and letting him misunderstand. "Yuanbao, come here." Meow Tilda, the little kitten, shook its tail and started to struggle when it heard me call it, seeing that Colpay had no reaction. The little ancestor immediately struck with a meow punch, breaking free from his hand and jumping into my arms. Looking at Colpay again, he seemed to have lost his sense of pain, still staring blankly at me. There was no way around it, so I had to quietly introduce him. "This is my cat, whose full name is Jiang Yuanbao, and his nickname is Baby." Yuanbao blinked his big eyes at the red-faced biped in front of him, his tail waving like a feather duster. I want to slip away before Colpay gets angry. "Well, if there's nothing else, I'll just..." To my surprise, just as I turned around, I was called back, "El Jiang." Colpay covered his face with his hand, and he almost squeezed out a few words from his mouth. If it weren't for the people around, I guess he would have exploded in the next second. "Don't go." I didn't dare to move again. At this moment, the staff member from earlier finally caught up. "Miss Jiang, did you catch the cat?" "The director wants to see it," I immediately replied. Okay, I can't wait to meet the director." After saying that, I walked so quickly that I didn't dare to look back at Colpay. "Jiang Yuanbao, the kitten, successfully passed the interview and needs to stay in the crew for a month." Playing the kitten raised by the male lead. When I came back, the break time had just ended, and Colpay had already gone to shoot. The staff took me on a tour of the crew and finally took me to see Colpay filming. Our teacher Pei is really good at acting. You can rest assured that the kitten will cooperate with him. I watched Colpay, who was filming. This scene happened to be a reunion between him and the female lead after a long separation. Facing the childhood friend he hadn't seen for many years, he revealed a gentle smile. In the shot, Colpay looked up at the female lead, about to lift his lips, then he saw me standing behind the camera. "Cut," the director shouted. "Colpay is smiling nicely, but it's too flirtatious. Laugh again." Colpay. The smile didn't disappear, it just shifted from Colpay's face to mine. As expected of a director, even the micro-expressions are observed so carefully. I find it interesting. I held the cat and watched for a while longer, until a familiar male voice came to my ear. "So, how about it? This kid looks pretty handsome when filming, right?" I turned my head to take a look and stopped smiling. "I just happened to come to visit and saw you." Chiang smiled at me, and the assistant director immediately came over when he saw him. "President Chi, it's fine, you all carry on," Chiang said. "I had someone prepare afternoon tea. It will be delivered shortly." "Thank you, President Chi." The staff members all expressed their gratitude upon hearing this. Chien waved his hand. "Did you invest in this drama?" I asked him. "Yes, the best team, the best script, specifically made to promote my cash cow." As he spoke, he looked at Colpay, who was filming, with great satisfaction in his eyes. "This kid has the potential to become an Oscar winner." Upon hearing this, I nodded in agreement. Although he comes from a talent show background, I have to admit that Colpay really has a talent for acting. "It's you." Chiang turned to look at me. "What are you doing here?" I shook the cat in my arms in front of him. "The crew is short a cat. I'll bring Yuanbao to make money for canned food." "Alright, I'll give the order right away. We won't treat our meow prince poorly." I smiled. "What's wrong? Are you interested in Colpay?" Chiang asked as he saw me staring at Colpay. I nodded. "I like him and want to pursue him." Chiang. He looked at me in shock, but it seems like he is still angry with me. I lowered my eyes and absent-mindedly stroked the cat in my arms. "Forget it. I'll go back and have my brother give you additional investment." "Your Highness, Do you need me to tie the person up and deliver them to your door? Phut, I was amused. When Cole-Pei finished filming again, he eagerly looked around but couldn't find that familiar figure. Stop looking. The person had to leave early, Chi Yang said coolly from the side. President Chi. Only then did Cole-Pei notice that his boss had come to visit. Do you know L. Jiang? TSK. What a lucky kid. Chi Yang sighed while staring at Cole-Pei's face. Although you are my cash cow, she is the little princess of the Su family, a person you cannot aspire to. He and Su Cheng grew up together, so he knows more about the Su family's matters than others. Because there is an heir older brother in the family, Chi Yang has been raised loosely since childhood. And he was supposed to grow up to be a useless rich second generation. After graduating from university, Su Cheng invested in him to start this entertainment company, and over the years, it has actually been getting better and better, making many artists famous, with Cole-Pei being one of them. With Cole-Pei's current status in the industry, as long as he says a word, there are indeed many people eager to please him. But L. Jiang is different. Upon hearing this, Cole-Pei frowned. Her surname is Jiang. Over the years in the circle, he had heard of the Su family, but he never thought that L. Jiang would be connected to them, not to mention that during high school, he had never heard L. Jiang mention them either. She has the surname Jiang, but she is a member of the Su family. What's wrong with that? As he spoke, Chi Yang also became a bit curious. What is your relationship? How did you meet? High school deskmate. Cole-Pei suddenly felt a bit annoyed for some reason and said softly, she suddenly transferred schools in our senior year, and I haven't seen her since. Senior year, huh? Chi Yang thought for a moment and suddenly realized, right, that year the old lady of the Su family was seriously ill, and she was taken back to the Su family at that time. Hearing this, Cole-Pei suddenly looked at him. What did you say, TSK? This matter involves someone else's family affairs. So I can't directly tell you. Chi Yang patted his shoulder. Anyway, you just need to know that she is now a member of the Su family. Cole-Pei was silent for a long time before finally speaking slowly. So, she had her own difficulties back then. Chi Yang couldn't help but laugh in disbelief. May I ask if you have been listening to me carefully? I've never seen such a pure love brain. The next morning, I walked out of the study with unsteady steps. The newly opened article suddenly gained traction yesterday, but I don't have any drafts prepared. Faced with the editor's request for the manuscript, I didn't even dare to tell her that I hadn't figured out the outline yet, so I hurriedly rushed back home from the crew to write all night. I had arranged with the crew staff to take the kitten for an audition this morning. I glanced at the time and still forced myself to get a taxi to go, after the greeting from Chi Yang when he left yesterday. The crew staff were noticeably more enthusiastic when facing me today. The kitten was taken to shoot, and I was so sleepy on the side that I vaguely heard someone calling me. L. Jiang, come here and sleep. Oh, I was so tired that my brain couldn't think about when Cole-Pei's tone became so gentle. I walked over and just collapsed onto the lounge chair and fell asleep. When I woke up again, it was already afternoon. He is wearing a long men's down jacket. Awake. The voice of Cole-Pei came from beside me. I was afraid that if I looked up, I would see him holding a yuanbao in his arms, opening a can for it. Wait, when did he buy the canned food? Yuanbao, come here to mommy. The kitten heard it, but the kitten ignored it. Cole-Pei not only bought the most expensive cat food, but also bought a big bag of freeze-dried food, and right now the kitten is happily digging in. Yuanbao, say goodbye to your mom, Cole-Pei said while deliberately glancing at me. Dad never lacks cans. The area behind my ears suddenly felt a bit hot. I thought for a moment, suppressing my shyness, and asked seriously, Cole-Pei, are you taking advantage of me? How could that be? It is said this way, but the smugness in Cole-Pei's eyes was even more obvious. I really am his dad in the play. Do you have any objections to being the child's mom? I turned my face away, my tone dull. No, for some reason. I clearly felt that Cole-Pei's attitude towards me seemed to have softened quite a bit. Upon learning that I would be with the group for a month, Cole-Pei didn't say much. The new article happens to be about the entertainment industry, so I took the opportunity to propose that I work as a part-time assistant for Cole-Pei to find some inspiration. Upon hearing this, Cole-Pei appeared somewhat reluctant on the surface, but subtly raised an eyebrow. Is the male lead a domineering CEO? I shake my head. No, the male lead is a simp. Cole-Pei, I thought for a moment and then quietly added a sentence. I didn't mean to say you are a simp. Cole-Pay was both angry and amused. For the next month, I brought the kitten to the set on time every day. Since the male lead had a lot of scenes with the cat, Cole-Pay specifically took some time to build a bond with the kitten. Various high-quality canned and freeze-dried foods were fed to it, and within a week, they had become like a father and son. Even during break time, it clings to Cole-Pay and won't leave. As a result, the crew often saw Cole-Pay sitting in a lounge chair reading the script, with a beautiful plush cat purring and kneading in his arms. With its charm, Jiang Yuanbao the kitten successfully won over a group of people, including the director. The day the kitten's storyline wrapped up happened to be New Year's Eve, and everyone held a farewell party for it. I got a little carried away and drank a few cups. Then, as expected, I got drunk. Cole-Pay took a day off from the crew to attend the New Year's event the next day. When the driver came to pick him up, he conveniently gave me a ride as well. The heating in the car is quite strong, and the kitten fell asleep in Cole-Pay's arms after getting on the car. Cole-Pay also drank quite a bit tonight and is now leaning on the back seat, resting with his eyes closed. I cracked the car window open a bit, letting the cold winter wind blow on my face, dispersing the slight heat from the alcohol, until Cole-Pay suddenly said, "Don't blow too much, it's getting cold lately. Don't catch a cold." The driver in front also agreed, saying, "This winter seems particularly cold. I remember the last time it was this cold was 6 years ago. And that year's snow was really heavy." Upon hearing this, my eyelashes trembled. When we arrived at the entrance of the community, Yuanbao was still clinging to Cole-Pay and wouldn't move. I was wondering whether to wake it up, but Cole-Pay had already gotten out of the car. "Let's go, you've had some drinks. I'll take you upstairs. The winter night is very cold, but the body feels hot after drinking." I looked at Cole-Pay and nodded blankly. But it wasn't until Cole-Pay brought me to the door and was about to leave that I realized I was overthinking it. As I watched him about to turn around after placing the sleepy kitten into the cat nest, I impulsively grabbed his sleeve. Cole-Pay turned his head in confusion to look at me. Could you possibly?" I racked my brain. But in the end, I could only think of the weakest excuse. "Could you sing me a song?" Cole-Pay debuted through a talent show, and singing and dancing are certainly not a problem for him. It's just that in the past, no one had ever tugged at his clothes like this, asking him to sing for her. Cole-Pay couldn't help but laugh, then squatted down to meet my gaze while I was sitting on the sofa. Jiang, do you know how expensive my appearance fee is for 1 minute?" My brain was particularly slow to react after getting drunk. It took me several seconds to realize what was happening. Looking into his eyes, I said slowly, "No, it's nothing. I have money." "Oh," Cole-Pay chuckled lightly. "I almost forgot. You are the young lady of the Su family." I looked at him in confusion, curious about how he knew my identity. I naturally dare not disobey the young lady's request. After a pause, he slowed down his tone, adding a hint of coaxing. "But if I sing for the young lady, what benefits can she give me?" I was tempted by beauty and said without hesitation, "As long as you want it, as long as I have it." "Anything is possible," he asked jokingly. "Can I even aim for Best Actor?" "Well, that's a bit difficult," I said somewhat awkwardly, "but it's not impossible. If I go back and kneel down to beg my brother, he might agree." "Phut," the person across from me laughed at my joke. "Forget it." He looked at me with a beaming smile, his tone so gentle it was almost unbelievable. "Just kidding." The familiar words suddenly reminded me of that love letter in the album's pocket. I looked at Cole-Pay in front of me, suddenly reaching out to hold his face. "Cole-Pay, I softly murmured to his puzzled gaze. "Can you please stop hating me?" Cole-Pay was momentarily taken aback, then his eyelashes fluttered, he lowered his eyes, and said nothing. My heart suddenly started to ache again, and I sniffed. Wasn't it very cold that night 6 years ago, on New Year's Eve, when a person is standing in the square waiting for me? "What are you thinking about?" Cole-Pay remained silent. After a long time, just when I was about to fall asleep, the person across from me finally reacted. "Yes, it's very cold," he spoke, his voice very soft. "So, Jiang, don't leave me in this winter anymore." I didn't reply and had already fallen asleep on the sofa. In the dream, Cole-Pay did not leave, but softly hummed a song, gently patting to lull me to sleep. The singing was so gentle that I couldn't help but relax my brows. The last memory is of someone leaning close to my ear, softly calling out, "Baby." Yeah, it should be calling a cat, right? A hungover brain feels like a pile of mush. The next day when I woke up in bed, I couldn't remember how I got back to my room after thinking for a long time. There are a few unread messages on my phone. Some from my brother, some from Ju Yuan, and some from Cole Pei. My brother's message is to tell me that he will be returning to the country next month. Ju Yuan's message was asking why I didn't send her New Year's wishes first last night, whether I don't love her anymore. As for Cole Pei's, I looked at the messages on the screen and suddenly felt a bit illiterate. Cole Pei, I made you some hangover soup, remember to drink it. I thought about it and tentatively replied to him, El Jiang. Did I say something wrong again after getting drunk yesterday? Cole Pei replied immediately, Cole Pei, don't worry, drink up, it's not poisoned _. Alright, I got up and washed up with peace of mind, then went to drink the hot hangover soup. While drinking, I replied to unread messages one by one, and after selectively ignoring the message from the editor titled Blessings but actually a reminder for the manuscript, I habitually opened Weibo. Then I saw a post from 10 hours ago at midnight by Cole Pei v. Urgent, how to make a good hangover soup. Looking at the comments section, many fans shared their own hangover soup recipes. And some were concerned about whether Cole Pei was drunk. Cole Pei replied to the concerned comment, "No, it was my family who got drunk." Family, As I looked at the bowl of hangover soup, I suddenly felt that it was no longer just an ordinary bowl of hangover soup. Damn. I even suspected whether Cole Pei had poisoned it. I really am bad. I promised to be Cole Pei's part-time assistant, so I will continue to report to the crew on time every day during this period. Over time, others also learned that Cole Pei and I are old classmates. Occasionally, during breaks, some people gossip with me, "Teacher Pei is so handsome. Did he have many admirers in high school?" I thought for a moment, there weren't many. Right, I remember one year on Valentine's Day, many boys in the class received chocolates, but he didn't receive any, so he asked me for one. In the end, I casually bought a piece from the convenience store for him, and he was so happy. Wait. Something seems off, I suddenly realized. Is it possible that someone who usually receives love letters every now and then won't receive chocolate on Valentine's Day? I seemed to suddenly understand something. Just then, Cole Pei came back from filming and frowned when he saw me still chatting with someone else. "Didn't you say you would be my assistant?" The water has already gone cold, however, I just looked at him with a mournful gaze. On Valentine's Day of my first year in high school. Was the chocolate I bought tasty? Cole Pei, are there other people giving you chocolate? Where have you hidden it from me? I suddenly feel that not everything needs to trouble the assistant, it's just hot water, I can pour it myself. After saying that, Cole Pei turned around and went to pour the hot water. I watched his back and found it somewhat amusing. So early, on the day the crew wrapped up, my novel also happened to be completed. After a few months, I gained quite a lot. And the novel's data experienced a huge surge after its completion. The editor told me that quite a few people have approached her wanting to buy the rights, and she is screening them one by one. On the day of the cruise wrap party, I arrived with Cole Pei. As the year-end approached, although Chi Yang was very busy, he still personally attended the event. I just didn't expect that my brother would come along with him. The moment I saw Su Cheng, I instinctively stopped smiling and honestly said, "Brother." Su Cheng responded, then frowned when his gaze fell on Cole Pei beside me. Seeing this, Cole Pei was obviously a bit nervous. "Hello, Mr. Su, I am Cole Pei." Su Cheng slightly nodded, which could be considered a response. He has always been aloof. 6 years ago that afternoon, when he first knocked on my family's door, it was the same way. At that time, I was preparing to go out for an appointment, but when I opened the door and saw Su Cheng and the bodyguard behind him, I was directly startled. "Who are you looking for? Who has come?" Seeing that I hadn't moved for a long time, my mother in the kitchen curiously came out to check the situation, and when her gaze fell on Su Cheng's face, she was also stunned. "Hello, I am Su Cheng." The man glanced at the furnishings in the room, and when his gaze finally landed on the face that bore a slight resemblance to mine, his eyes flickered. "Grandma is seriously ill and wants to see you both." As soon as the words were spoken, I saw my mother's face instantly turn pale. In the end, I still nodded. "Okay, I'll get ready." So, I was brought back to the Su family's old residence instead of going out for my appointment, and I learned about my background from my half-brother Su Cheng. It is not as my mother said, that my biological father passed away early, nor is it as written in novels that there was a mistake in reporting. My biological father is the only son of the wealthy Su family, and I am the product of his extramarital affair, the legendary illegitimate daughter, a presence that cannot be seen in the light. Back then, Su's father followed the family's arrangements and had a business marriage, giving birth to Su Cheng, the eldest grandson. Within a few years, the couple's feelings faded. So during a long-term business trip, he pretended to be single and dated my mother, which led to my existence. It was only when my mother wanted to discuss marriage with him that she realized she had been deceived. The Su family is large and prosperous, and ordinary people simply cannot compete, let alone with Su's father's status. No one would believe that she was deceived. In the end, my mother had to give birth to me because her health was poor, and having an abortion would pose a danger to her life, so she was forced to raise me alone, a very cliché story, where the man who is the root cause has perfectly vanished. When I was brought to the Su family, I realized that in my haste, I had forgotten to bring my phone. The heating in the room was turned up high, but sitting outside the hospital room, I still felt my hands and feet were cold. The brain seems to stop thinking at this moment, just blankly receiving the information coming from the outside world. I met my biological father and also saw his nominal wife. Su Cheng's mother is a very beautiful woman. When facing her, my mother instinctively felt guilty and at a loss. Mrs. Su, her eyes were red, and she didn't know what to say, but Mrs. Su just smiled and held her hand. It's okay, I know it's not your fault, I don't blame you. Saying this, she looked at me again. The little girl really looks like our Cheng. They both resemble Grandma. She didn't say I look like my biological father, just that I look like my brother and Grandma. Father Su frowned slightly, as if he wanted to refute. The next second, Su Cheng pushed open the door, and Father Su immediately became obedient again. Grandma wants to see you, Su Cheng said, so I saw my biological grandmother again. In the past, I had only seen this woman in magazines and newspapers. I knew that she had created her own business empire by herself, and I was aware of the mixed reviews from the outside world, with the most discussed topic being her romantic experiences. The world is always particularly harsh on women. It seems that to outsiders, it doesn't matter how she made so much money, her rise as a woman must inevitably rely on men. But the moment I saw her, I knew she was definitely not what the outside world said, because the way she looked at me was so gentle. She lay so weakly on the hospital bed, yet she was apologizing to her mother. I'm sorry, it's my fault for not raising my son well, which has caused you so much suffering. It's not easy to raise a child alone, is it? As a mother, you are very strong and brave. Just a few short sentences made Mom burst into tears. Over the years, she felt guilty countless times, regretted countless times, believing that she had destroyed someone else's family. Yet no one had ever said those words to her. What is your name? The old lady asked me softly. El Jiang, I replied. That's a nice name. The old lady smiled. Your mother raised you very well. After saying these words, the old man was already extremely weak, yet he still forced himself to say to Su Cheng beside him, Cheng, remember, this is your sister. Your father is useless. If the company is handed over to him, it will eventually go bankrupt. I have already prepared my will in advance. After I die, the company and shares will belong to you, and you can manage everything yourself in the future. However, all the properties and shops under my name, as well as all my jewelry, will be left to El Jiang. You have no objections, right? I have no objections, Grandma. Su Cheng was raised by his grandmother since childhood, and he never contradicted her words. Only Su's father, who was nearby, dared to be angry but said nothing after hearing this. Finally exploding after leaving the hospital room, what does Mom mean by this? I am her biological son. Why should the company and assets be left to the grandchildren? Shut up. How can you still ask why? Mrs. Su did not hide her disgust and disdain. I really regretted marrying you back then. If it weren't for you being A Cheng's biological father, I wouldn't even want to look at you. After saying that, she turned to look at me. Little El Jiang, it's nice to see you today. If you have any issues in the future, just tell Auntie and your brother. Oh, okay, I stared blankly at the scene in front of me, feeling that this wealthy family was quite different from what I had imagined. Father Su did not receive his wife's support and turned to look at his mother. Seeing that his mother also didn't want to pay attention to him, he exploded. "Why do you look down on me too?" In the end, it was Su Cheng who walked out of the ward, and with a glance, Father Su immediately shut up. I was taken by Su Cheng to a medical institution under the Su family's name for a paternity test. Seeing that I hadn't spoken the whole time, Su Cheng glanced at me. "No need to be nervous. The inheritance you are about to receive is not a small amount, it's just a routine procedure." I numbly nodded. The waiting time is very long. Even though Su Cheng has expedited it, I still feel like the days are dragging on. It wasn't until the freshly printed paternity test report was delivered to Su Cheng that he finally put down the documents he was reading on the tablet and walked up to me. "Let me reintroduce myself. Hello, L. Jiang. I am Su Cheng." He looked down at me. "He is your half-brother." Once again coming to my senses, I heard Su Cheng asking me, "I heard your novel is a hit. Are you interested in selling the copyright?" "Wow, little sister is so impressive." Qi Yang, who was nearby, raised his eyebrows with great interest. "What is the name of the novel? I'll have my people contact you about it when I get back. The price is not the issue. Mainly, it's more reassuring for us to buy it ourselves." In just a few words, it seems this matter has been settled. I caught a glimpse of Cole Pei beside me, his expression dark, and my heart tightened. "I do want to sell the copyright, but I want Cole Pei to play my male lead. Is that okay?" After the words fell, Cole Pei looked at me in surprise. Su Cheng frowned slightly without leaving a trace, while Qi Yang smiled. "Of course, it's fine." At this moment, someone came over to greet, and Qi Yang picked up his wine glass to socialize. Cole Pei and I exchanged glances with my brother. In the end, it was Su Cheng who spoke first. He looked at Cole Pei and asked, "Shall we chat?" Cole Pei nodded. "Me, has anyone asked for my opinion?" But I also didn't dare to refute my brother, so in the end, I could only watch them leave helplessly and turn to look at my brother's assistant. "Do you think my brother will just come up and throw down a check?" The assistant thought for a moment. "It seems the president doesn't have this habit." "Oh, that's good then." I don't know what those two talked about, but after that day, Cole Pei went quiet for quite a while, and even the assistant work was not arranged for me, until one night a month later, Cole Pei and I trended together. I don't know who captured the moment when Cole Pei sent me home that night. Even the title is quite similar to what I had previously made up. Cole Pei meets a mysterious woman late at night, suspected romance exposed. Cole Pei is currently very popular, having just finished filming his last drama not long ago. As soon as this trending topic came out, it immediately shot up to the top 3. Passerby fans are eagerly watching, and various marketing accounts are spreading rumors. For a time, Cole Pei became the target of everyone's criticism. However, before public opinion could continue to ferment, someone noticed that the popularity of the trending topics began to decline, and many related entries disappeared in an instant. Cole Pei's management company also issued a stamped lawyer's letter at this time. Some sharp-eyed onlookers have already realized that something is off. What's going on? The heat is being withdrawn so quickly this time. Could it be that capital is stepping in? According to rumors, the woman's background is not simple. I can't say more than that. Alright, Cole Pei, you could have really climbed up the social ladder. So is the relationship rumor true or not? In my opinion, there's an 80 to 90% chance it's true. The moment Ju Yuan saw the trending topic, she called me. "What's going on? Are you with Cole Pei?" "No, not at all." I was also panicking at that moment, although I knew that it was Cole Pei who drove me home that night. I didn't expect to be photographed. What a sin it would be if I implicated Cole Pei because of myself. Remove the trending search. No matter the cost, it must be removed. Just as I was about to interrupt and call Qi Yang again, Cole Pei suddenly messaged me. "Cole Pei, L. Jiang, you don't need to worry. I'll respond." But I am even more nervous about his future, and I immediately started typing, "L. Jiang, don't be impulsive, it's really nothing if I get discussed a bit." Cole Pei hasn't replied. A few minutes later, Ju Yuan directly sent me a 10-second long screaming voice message. "Hurry, quick, look at Cole Pei's Weibo rrrr." Hearing this, I instinctively clicked on Weibo, but it almost got stuck and I nearly exited. 10 minutes later, when I finally logged onto Weibo, Coldplay's post had already exploded with comments. It was only because Coldplay released that group photo I had in front of my computer and responded generously, Coldplay V. She is the person I have secretly loved since my youth, and she is the goal I strive for. As I looked at this Weibo post, I felt as if my heart was like a bottle of peach soda that had been shaken, bubbling furiously. At this moment, I suddenly thought of that yellowed love letter. After many years, the love that I could not express back then has finally been openly revealed in the sunlight. Ding. Coldplay sent a message on the phone. Coldplay, come downstairs. I almost jumped out of bed. Didn't have time to change out of my pajamas, and hurriedly put on my down jacket before rushing out the door. It was only after I went downstairs that I realized it was snowing outside. Coldplay, who just appeared on the trending searches, suddenly appeared right in front of me. I wanted to rush over and hug him. But I was worried about being photographed again, so I had to sneak over, looking around as I walked. How did you come here? It's so dangerous. Before I could finish speaking, Coldplay hugged me tightly. What are you sneaking around for? Can't I be seen like this? Hey, pay attention to your behavior. Don't get too hands-on. I struggled a few times, but seeing that I couldn't break free, I had no choice but to endure it. I buried my head in his arms and said in a muffled voice, "But I'm your career fan." Coldplay raised an eyebrow and said, "I thought you were a beauty fan. Am I such a superficial person?" Oh, then who put my photo in the most prominent place in the study? I lifted my head from his arms, feeling a bit embarrassed. Why did you visit my house without my permission? A certain drunkard fell asleep on the sofa and couldn't get up, so I have to take her back to her room. How can I know which is the bedroom and which is the study if I don't take a look? There's nothing to say. He makes a lot of sense. Alright, you've seen the person, and you still have work tomorrow, right? You should head back. Having been Coldplay's part-time assistant for a while, I am well aware of his schedule. Coldplay, are you sure you don't have anything you want to say to me? I shook my head. Well, I'm leaving then. Coldplay got angry again. He said he was going to leave. But he deliberately walked very slowly, taking small steps every 3 steps and turning back dramatically every 5 steps, and I watched him act like this. Sure enough, without being retained, Coldplay became furious. "El Jiang, if you don't hold me back, I'm really leaving." I thought for a moment. Coldplay, are you being coy? Coldplay fell silent, but his face turned red. Sigh, what else can I do? Coldplay, my cat can do backflips. Do you want to come and see? Coldplay came back in just a few steps. Let's go. I can't wait to see our Yuan Bao do backflips. 1 year later, the film adaptation of my first novel officially started production. Coldplay plays my male lead. After the TV series was released, it was surprisingly the theme song that went viral before the plot. The theme song of the TV series, titled Confession Letter, composed and written by Coldplay himself, swept across major apps that summer, becoming the go-to BGM for viral videos. Everyone knows that this song was written by Coldplay for the girl he had a crush on when he was 18. There was a popular post online that year. Is it to forget a person's voice first, or their appearance? The highly upvoted answer below is, neither. It's to forget their flaws first, but I only remember your good sides. Coldplay said with a helpless smile. So at the age of 18, he wrote this song. I remember the way you looked down while writing. The handwriting on the exam paper was beautiful. I remember when you were napping on the desk, your breathing couldn't cover up your heartbeat. I remember when you were running on the playground, every strand of hair flying freely. I think this is probably what a crush is like. I remember all your appearances, participating in every moment of your youth's growth. In the end, I can only stand far away in the sea of people, listening to you wishing me a smooth journey to stardom. My first novel was adapted into a TV series, and it exploded under the blessing of Confession Letter. Everyone knows that the original author is the girl Coldplay had a crush on when he was 18. At the celebration banquet, fans jokingly said that Coldplay has finally climbed to a high branch. In response, Coldplay felt no shame, but rather pride. After all, I did indeed fantasize about climbing high. I was amused by his words. Miss, oh no, I should be called a great writer now. Coldplay smiled at me and suddenly knelt down on one knee, pulling out a ring from somewhere. Will you give me this opportunity? After the shock, I covered my mouth with red eyes and extended my hand to him. Then it depends on your performance. Just kidding. In fact, from the moment I saw that love letter, I had imagined that there would be a day like this. End of text. Extra. Su Cheng. The happiest person on the day Cole Pei won the Best Actor award was Chi Yang, if you ask me. It has to be your keen eye. He rushed into Su Cheng's office, so excited that he almost wanted to bow to him. When you first recommended that person to me, I was reluctant. But now it seems I was indeed short-sighted and almost missed out on a money-making opportunity. Su Cheng put down the documents in his hand and smiled, which was a rare sight. Our sister is also impressive. Her first novel adapted into a TV series has become a huge hit. Does your family have some kind of money-making gene? As he spoke, Chi Yang seemed to remember something. I remember when you were in your rebellious teenage years, always shouting that you wanted to be a writer in the future. Su Cheng. Later in high school, a group of girls chased after you, praising you for being handsome, and you said you wanted to debut as an idol. Su Cheng. TSK. Time really doesn't spare anyone. How did you end up becoming such a cold and domineering CEO? Su Cheng really frowned this time. One of my childhood friends has this flaw. He knows all my dark history. You know my family's situation, don't you? Su Cheng said. The conditions do not allow it. At that time, the Su family only had him as the sole heir. He was raised by his grandmother and mother, and in his youth, he may have had many immature dreams. While his mother and grandmother never hesitated to praise him, he grew up surrounded by the affection of women. So when he learned that his parents' relationship had long since broken down and that he had a half-sister, he realized that he needed to grow up. To be honest, in your family's situation, any other rich second generation would not be able to be so tolerant towards illegitimate children. You are an exception. Chi Yang sighed. The fault does not lie with them, Su Cheng said softly. He himself was a child raised by two women, and he knew that it was not easy for women. Even someone as outstanding as his grandmother, a legendary figure, was often talked about for her romantic experiences in daily life. He did not want his sister to go through those experiences as well. At that time, Grandma passed away, and the Su family was facing both internal and external troubles. A group of relatives were eyeing the two siblings covetously, so he could only arrange for El Jiang to transfer schools to protect her. Later, when he learned that she wanted to be a writer, he fully supported her. After all, he only had this one sister. Speaking of which, what did you and Cole Pei talk about during that private conversation? Hearing this, Su Cheng recalled and couldn't help but laugh. What did you talk about? I told him that El Jiang is the only girl of this generation in the Su family, and the dowry prepared for her by the Su family is very expensive. And then what? Did you ask him to provide the same amount of betrothal gifts? Chien has almost started to calculate how much money Cole Pei has earned over the years, but no matter how much it is, how can it compare to the Su family? In response, Su Cheng just chuckled lightly. No. I asked him to marry into the family. What? Chi Yang was stunned. Then he agreed without hesitation. Truly a pure love brain. Extra. Cole Pei. El Jiang transferred schools. When he heard this news, Cole Pei was lying in bed with a high fever. On New Year's Eve that night, he waited alone in the square from day to night, and finally, out of anger, sent that message to El Jiang. El Jiang, I'm not waiting for you anymore. At that time, he thought that El Jiang was just temporarily unable to keep her appointment, but he didn't expect that the next time he heard from her, it was that she had transferred schools. Clearly, they had been together the day before, dreaming about the future. And clearly, El Jiang had promised to be his agent in the future. Little liar. On the day he received the invitation to the class reunion, Cole Pei had just finished filming all night. During that time, he was extremely busy. When he saw the message, he originally intended to decline as he had before, but fell silent after receiving the message from Zhu Yuan. Zhu Yuan said that El Jiang would also be attending. He hesitated for a long time, but in the end, he still took half a day off from the crew. The reason is to attend a high school reunion. When he first saw El Jiang, he originally intended to feign indifference and ask her who she was, but at the moment he saw El Jiang in tears, his heart suddenly skipped a beat. Why are you crying? As soon as the words left his mouth, he instinctively reached out to wipe away her tears, but then he realized the situation and forcefully held back. Damn it, didn't we agree to at least give her some space? How can I not be unable to hold back as soon as we meet? really useless. Just as the meal was about to finish, Jiang went out for a bit. He immediately followed. So when Jiang came out of the bathroom, what she saw was him rolling up his sleeves, revealing his forearm muscles, with a cigarette in his mouth, looking all tough. Previously, there was a play where he practiced countless times in front of the mirror, knowing how to look the most handsome when looking at people. Sure enough, a hint of admiration appeared in Jiang's eyes. The next second, she sneezed. Cole Pei, seeing her about to go in, Cole Pei became anxious. Jiang, is it that if I don't come looking for you, you will never take the initiative to find me? Jiang was a bit stunned. But it was you who pretended not to know me first, but he just can't accept it. He can't accept it. The only person left in the memories is himself. Jiang, do you even have a conscience? If you still have a bit of conscience, you should feel indebted to me. Even just a little bit would be good, I beg you. He couldn't bring himself to say the words that followed, so he irritably raked his hair and turned to stride back to the private room. Jiang, wrapped in a scarf, is very cute. He watched as he tried to exhale. His bangs were blown straight up, and he almost couldn't help but laugh. In the end, he still managed to hold it in. Is he really such an easy person to soften? On the way back, listening to Brother Ju and Jiang chatting in front, he couldn't help but hum, until Brother Ju got annoyed. Cole Pei, what's wrong with you? If you're not feeling well, just scratch it. I'm chatting with an old classmate, and you're humming for whom? As he finished speaking, he saw Jiang in front of him gently raise the corners of her lips through the rearview mirror. Are you so happy to hear that he got criticized? He is unhappy again. When Jiang got out of the car, it just started to snow outside, a cold wind blew in, and he instinctively started to cough. After that serious illness back then, his body became particularly fragile every winter. He originally just coughed a couple of times, but after seeing Jiang looking somewhat distressed, he coughed even harder. Then he heard Jiang say, "It's cold lately. If your throat is uncomfortable, you should smoke less." As a result, that big fool Ju Ji saw right through him in an instant. What smoking? Cole Pei doesn't smoke. How dare he smoke as a public figure? If he's caught, he would be scolded to death. He suddenly kicked the front seat, covering his mouth and coughing. His face flushed red, mostly out of anger and embarrassment. Shut up. I can still smoke you. I thought it was a big deal. But it turned out to be a big reveal. Jiang has a cat, whose nickname is Baby. Cole Pei has never been so embarrassed in his life. Does Jiang think he is being overly sentimental, but who made her call Baby in front of him? Well, the little cat's nickname is Baby. Why shouldn't she be allowed to call it that? He struggled internally several times, but in the end, he still called his assistant. Go, buy some cat food and freeze-dried food, and get the best. Cats are good cats. It would be even better if I could recognize him as my father. Even if Cole Pei doesn't remember you, you still have me. He could be a wealthy illegitimate daughter. It was a possibility he had never considered before. So, did she also have her own difficulties back then? Cole Pei suddenly lost heart. What is he doing? He sulked by himself, never considering that she also had her own troubles. That night when he sent Jiang home, he admitted he had selfish motives. Yet when Jiang asked him, he fell silent for a long time. 6 years ago, on that winter night of New Year's Eve, weren't you very cold? He then tried hard to recall. On that New Year's Eve 6 years ago, on that snowy night, he watched the people coming and going in the square, listening to the young couple beside him counting down together. What was he thinking in his heart? Jiang is about to fall asleep. He spoke softly, almost pleading. Yeah, it's very cold. So, Jiang, don't leave me in this winter anymore. Jiang has completely fallen asleep and did not respond to him. However, even so, he still really likes her.